A smile is nearly always inspired by another smile. Hey everybody, welcome to Crime Over Cocktails. I'm Tiffany, your host, and today I have special guest Victoria. She's the founder of a Contagious Smile Group.
Well, welcome. I'm so excited to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You have such a disturbing but yet inspiring story.
I've never had to describe it that way, Tiffany.
Leave it to me.
Thanks for giving me a whole new description.
No, but like you have taken something that was horrible and you turned it into light, and that's so inspiring.
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. I don't know where you want to start.
I'll start wherever you want me to start.
All right, wherever you feel comfortable.
I was in corporate America and I had everything I wanted except I wanted a family. I had my soulmate and we broke up after 4.5 years. And I did the one thing I've never done in my life. I rebounded and met a monster. And the monster that I met literally ran me, Tiffany, to the express lane. Let's hurry up and, live together. Let's get married. I'm like, yo, hey, bump the brakes, buddy, because, we really just met. And he's like, well, you travel for work and, I don't get to see you very much. And I'm like, well, if it's meant to be in 6 months, can't we revisit this? And they're so amazing at the manipulation that they can do and charming, charismatic, and amazing at putting you on together. Because it was like, well, we've both been with so many wrong people and we haven't been able to be with our soulmate. Now we have each other. Why would we want to waste any more time? And then I'm like, I feel like this big with a little tiny, nothing, because he made a valid point. I was never physically attracted to him at all. I made that, clear. I told him I wasn't into him. I loved the traits that he showed me. I was very much about family, and all I wanted was to have children. I wanted to have a family. And he knew that, and what we learned is that, undiagnosed narcissistic psychopaths, sociopaths, whatever you want to put on it, ran with it. And it was like, I came from a very big family. We fostered a lot of kids in my home growing up. Being that I'm military, I'm ready to settle down and have a family, and make a life with someone, and that's you. And I was like, well, good, we can revisit this in 6 months. No, wait. The next thing I know, we are rushing down the engagement aisle, and I actually introduced him to my soulmate. And you, Tiffany, cannot come up with a stronger word than hatred. They hated each other, like from the jump, didn't get along, nothing. So I literally, I don't know why I wanted them to meet. It was kind of like, here's your last chance, fix this, to my soulmate. Didn't work. I married this monster. We got married. I didn't even live with him until after we were married. And after we were married, shortly thereafter, and that's when the abuse began. And the first time, now I have to put in a disclaimer, whether it's one time, 200 times, one is too many. I don't care. There's no excuse to put your hands on a female or male, because there are male victims.
Oh, absolutely.
There's no excuse for you to put your hands unwarranted on someone. So the first time I was like, that didn't just happen. Complete denial. I know that didn't just happen. No. And then that was a cell phone thrown across the room at me. And then he came up and slapped me. And I was like, And then I said, that's not going to happen. Like, that's not happening. I'm not that woman. I'm not going to be that person. Well, as time went on, the abuse escalated. I was literally just confined to his every move. He would drive behind me to my work, make sure I got off the exit. I'd have to call for my office for caller ID so he would see I was in my office. He would call my assistant all day long to see where I was. He would just show up at my office, which I couldn't understand how he could do it, but he did. He controlled everywhere I went, who I spoke to, what I did, what I wore, my makeup, my hair, everything. If I asked for chapstick, I was a whore. Yes. The injuries were just frightening, to say the least. I would go to work in turtlenecks when it's 80 degrees outside. hiding and covering up for his sickness. Well, I kept going to his command and saying that the man's going to kill me. And they turned a blind eye, which after many, many, many years of advocating with other amazing individuals, that's very common in the military. And I know not all soldiers are bad. They're not all bad, but there are some bad eggs out there. So they did nothing to help me. And at one point, he even broke my nose in front of his captain on the base, on the installation. And they did nothing.
That is just disgusting.
So this just kept escalating and kept getting more and more proof. They kept saying, why do you have so much proof? And I said, well, nobody's doing anything to help me. And when he kills me, which is what looks like is coming, he'll never get his hands on my file. I don't want him around my file. So one of the first things that I did was I changed my medical power of attorney so that when I would get back in the hospital again, he couldn't make decisions. And
smart.
I did that, which infuriated him more, but I'm here today. And we went round and round about things. He stabbed me over a dozen times. I am deaf now. I wear hearing aids. If you look on the sides of both sides of my face, I've had my mandibula and my mandibular, both jaws are completely replaced. There's 26 metal pieces in my face. Both of my jaws are metal. Complete shoulder replacement. I'm partially paralyzed. I have nothing but screws, pins, and plates in my hand and my fingers. I've had over 100 surgeries to correct, and you don't have surgery for something not broken. The last hospital visit, I was in ICU, and they said that my unborn daughter and I had less than 2% chance of coming out, and it was very grim. And I said, it's better than one. We're going to fight. I was in there for weeks. Emergency C-section, they life-flighted her, and I remained in the hospital. When I got out, I stayed by her side, and it was very, very hard. I went after getting the rights terminated and won. The rights terminated to keep you around. I keep telling the military this is happening, and I own my mistake. I own what I did. I open up and I say I did it. I'm human. The sergeant lieutenant colonel and his captain came to see me in the hospital, and I raised total hell, excuse me, I yelled, I screamed, get out, you put me here, this is as much your fault as his, get out now, screaming. The nurse says, she's not in a condition for you. I didn't look like myself, my jaw was broken, my nose was broken, shoulder was broken, fingers, wrist, stabbings, knee dislocation, blood clots, and I'm in labor. And all of this is documented. It's never once been a he said, she said. Never. So not only do we have the medical records that coincide with the injuries, we have photographs of all the injuries. We have doctor statements on the civilian sector. We have doctor statements, sworn affidavits, and we have him admitting everything on almost 18 hours of wire transfer.
Wow.
So with all this being said, we go to court, and he was released on a technicality and never charged with anything.
That's disgusting.
It is disgusting. It's so disgusting. And I was beside myself. I got a protective order. We had permanent restraining orders, things like that. And I ended up advocating for special needs. And then I had someone ask me, you survived domestic violence. And I was like, how do people know this? Well, when you give birth and the child gets life-flighted, your medical record goes with, because that's why the child came early. Mm-hmm. And they figured that out. So I spoke to a lady who said, you really need to be helping other women. I was like, are you nuts? So I constantly was being interrogated by military police, by CID, you name it. I was who saw him break your face? Well, who's going to look at who's around when you're getting your face bashed in? I'm not. I don't think you are. So,
right. And I saw him. It's him.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with the weight of his fist. So they're like, well, maybe, you did it to yourself. How do I do that to myself? I have photographs of where he strangled me, and it's his thumbprints. And they tried to say I strangled myself. You take your own hands. You can't. It's physically impossible. Oh. And the police actually took the print from his thumb, and it was the same measurements and everything off the bruises. And then, you can't do it. But like, here was his fingerprints, and here were his thumbprints on both sides. And they were like, well, you must have done it to yourself. And then you hear, well, what did you do to make him mad? What he wanted. And it was like, I don't care if you do everything verbatim, but whoever cut him off on the way home, whoever made him mad at work, still gonna come home and take it out of you. It doesn't matter if you do everything right. It's still gonna happen. So I ended up sitting there with my daughter in a medically induced coma, and she had to get a tracheostomy, which is a tube in her neck to breathe in order for her to survive because she was coding every single day. And they told me I couldn't stimulate her. So I sat with her and sang to her and read to her. And literally, I just started screaming into my laptop. I did this all by myself. I was all alone, and I was screaming into my laptop. I had an amazing respiratory therapist who said, you need to publish this. And I thought, you're nuts. You're nuts. So I changed the geographic location and I changed the names. And it was 10 years later, I finally got the cojones out there and I published my memoir first. And I've had people tell me that it saved them. It gives them the real insight of what it is to go through. I never went back and read it, Tiffany. I just literally went in and wrote it. You could pick it up and say, oh, I'm at the part where he was dragging you through the house by your hair. And I can tell you verbatim what's going to be word for word on the book because it was just what happened. So when that happens, you don't have to try to do anything because it's all factual. So that's what I did. And now I advocate and help other women find their inner light and see the beauty within. One of the first interviews I did, I had a lady saying, what are you going to do if you find out you're doing this? And I said, well, I didn't think about that. And I said, well, I guess I should say that I married my soulmate. And we got married and we're married now. And he's adopted my daughter, which, to me was never his. It was never the monster's daughter. She was all mine. And they hated each other. He went to court with me. My son went to court with me. He was an officer, a detective, a canine handler. And he went to court with me. And they both went to the bathroom at the same time. And it's one of my 7 wonders. I don't know what happened in there. And he won't tell me. He won't give me a clue. But I know, right? So, yeah.
Oh my God, it'd be a fly on a wall.
Right? I was like watching when they came back in, and he was like, some things you don't need to know. And I was like, come on, Nope. So, yeah, that's a tough one. But
and he still won't tell you to this day?
I have an idea, but he's like, there's just deniability all around if you don't know. So, yeah, I get it, but I don't, because I'm like, haven't I been through enough? I want to know. And he's like, no, babe, can't tell you. So, that's kind of it in a nutshell, I guess. It still checks me up to talk about it. People ask why I'm still having surgery now. That's easy. I put my daughter first, as any good parent would, and any injury of mine that wasn't life-threatening had to wait because my daughter had 4 surgeries before she was a week old. And she fit in my hand, and they kept telling me she wasn't coming home, and I said, she is coming home. There's no discussion. She's coming home. And she defied every single odd. So I would have, a doctor set my shoulder, and it would pop out a week later. And they're like, you've got to get this fixed. And I'm like, I've got to be there for my kids. There's, nothing I got to do, And she was home at this point. She'd go with me to the doctors, and I had 11 pieces of equipment to take with me everywhere. I went from oxygen to an emergency bag, to an emergency trach bag, to her feeding tube bag, in case that came out. It was a lot, and she was working every single second.
Absolutely. I'm so happy that she was able to survive, and you as well. You guys are both strong women, and you gave her that. She got that from you.
Thank you.
When you told me she likes to donate so she can give to other children, survivors and stuff. Oh, that just made my heart just smile. That is so sweet.
She started out when she was 4. She sat in Santa's lap, and she was born basically without a tongue, so I taught her sign. And she talks, but I always interpret for her behind her. And Santa said, what do you want? And she said, he could see the trach scar, and I told him. And so she said that she wanted to give other kids like her a Christmas. And he just was dumbfounded. And he's like, what do you want? She goes, that is. And so we went and did a fundraiser, and we raised, I think it was $250-ish for the first year. And we've been doing it every year since. And we know the hospitals are taken care of, so we go to the chronic facilities that, they're inpatient permanently. or the chronic therapy centers and things like that. And she'd go in there and she'd be like, oh, hi, Tiffany. You know, I got you a present. And then if you had a brother or sister sitting beside you, she would say, oh, you must be Tiffany's brother. I have a horrible memory. It's my fault. She got you a present, but I don't remember which one, so you couldn't pick one out. So that your sibling would think that you didn't forget them on the holidays. And every year we would say to her, is there any one present you want here? And she goes, no, I don't want one. And she never wants a thing. Never.
Wow.
And so we've been doing that continuously. And that's what we did. And but when COVID hit, you know, we couldn't do that for the kids. And so we were working with shelters for domestic violence, which I do all year long anyway. And she had saved up her money. And she goes, how much would it cost to get cookies from the cookie company? And I said, why? And she goes, well, we have something Christmassy to do at Christmas. So we went in there and she took her big piggy bank and she goes, I want to know what to do and if we can deliver them. And so they let her keep her money and they donated it. And then we donated. And she was like, no, I want to give them money. And I was like, no, they're doing it. And she's like, I want them to have a good Christmas. And so she prays for them all the time. And then she goes to the hospitals now and talk to the kids who are having big surgeries and say, hey, I had a big surgery. You're going to be fine. So she advocates for kids herself. And she's just the greatest gift for her.
That is amazing. Such a presence. And it needs to be done, especially children. You know, that'll make them realize that they're not alone. And other kids have gone through similar things. And sometimes you need that. You need to know that I'm not alone. It's so important.
Yes, it's very good.
I like when you said your inner light doesn't die. It gets misplaced.
It does. It gets misplaced. And we help bring it back out and show you that even in the darkest night, a tiny little flickering will light your way.
I love that. So tell me about a contagious smile.
A contagious smile started when the chief of the craniofacial department at the Children's Hospital said, you need to be advocating. Because every time I see you, you're trying to tell parents, like, you can get this, you can get this waiver, you can do this and this and this and help you. You need to be advocating. He's like, you should start a support group. And I'm like, yeah, because I have nothing else to do. So I started because my daughter has craniofacial. And so I said, you know what? I don't care what you look like. If you smile, people are going to smile back at you. It doesn't matter. You know, it doesn't matter where you are. We were sitting in the movie, A Dolphin Tale, and she was like, Winter has no tail and I have no tongue. I get it. And she was like 4 or 5. And I just was like, oh my God. So when she did her Make-A-Wish, we got to swim with her, which was amazing.
Oh.
She had a Harry Potter wish, which I feel bad and I apologize to your listeners. But then I didn't know much about Harry Potter. I was a medical mom. So I watched it with her, but I was too busy watching like the apnea machine and the pulse ox probe and things like that. So I really wasn't, you know, a couple, what I don't know. It's like, you know, so I didn't know. But her wish was that Harry Potter, and they went above and beyond. Like, she spent half a day with the wand maker from all the movies. We signed all this paperwork. She got an actual wand Harry himself used. And she got Hermione's cloak. So that was, you know, a little bit later, but we were always doing a contagious smile because every smile tells a story, and it will always put you in a better place. And if you just remember that you have succeeded 100% on your worst days, and you just think about the tiniest little thing, like medical parents don't take anything for granted. It's a very close-knit, very special type community, just like survivors. We're very tight, very close, very protected. And when you see that made something that a lot of other people be like, so what? That's not that big a deal. To us, it's a huge deal. And we're smiling and just taking in every moment. It's contagious. And so it's a contagious smile. So our website, which is contagiousmile.com, offers free social classes, free support groups. I do life skill classes too for special needs for the kids and the families and caregivers. I have a caregiver class just to help them decompress and, you know, rejuvenate themselves. They need that. I help rewrite resumes, help you get back on your feet. I can show you how to put your footprint, if you will, back on social media without being traced or found. That's, you know, we can do it privately and teach you how to do that. We also, we have a lot of classes. We have a lot of resources. every Friday we put up free worksheets for you to download and do with your kids, or something fun and exciting. We do a lot of videos. We've had some really famous people endorse us, which is fantastic. I just did a 3-day event called Podcasting for FUR Pause, because we also breed golden retrievers to help the kids that need it get their puppies sooner, because there's an average of 5-year wait. So, and we've been doing this on our own pocket from day one. We've been paying for all this ourselves.
5-year wait that just seems so long.
Yeah, especially when there's kids with chronic, things going on, and they might not be here in 5 years. And these puppies go everywhere with you. They stay with you in the hospital. They go to X-ray. They go into MRIs. They go everywhere you go, dinner, grocery store. They just can't go in the OR. Other than that, they stay with you. And that's your forever friend. You have that one person, Tiffany, because to me, they're family, they're not the dog. But you have that forever friend that only wants to be loved unconditionally, play with them once in a while, just love on them, and they will love you unlike that. And to have something so serious and be poked and prodded all day long, and the unknown in front of you all the time, then you have this friend that doesn't care. It doesn't care about anything else but you. It makes a big difference. So that's why we started doing this.
That's great. It's such a great atmosphere, such a great community that you have built. You should be very proud of yourself.
Oh, thank you. I just hope if I get one more person, my goal is one person a day, succeed in what I'm trying to do. So,
and I hope you realize that you are still beautiful. No matter all the plates, you are still beautiful. So you don't ever lose that light. So did he ever do any time? So, well, most likely he's going to do it again.
He has. I made it clear with the judge that I would never see or go after his place of residence or where he works or anything like that. But once in a blue moon, he changes his appearance a lot. I just want to know what he kind of looks like, so I know. When we did the guardian ad litem transition for the termination of rights and the permanent restraining orders, we found out, you don't card your boyfriend. So you don't ask to see the license. So he lied to me about his age, which was number one. And then my understanding is he's on like 9 or 10 right now. And that one is passed away. One is in a mental institution, because he pulled a gun on him. One is very on drugs, and I don't know the status of the rest of them. And honestly, I haven't checked because I just want to know what the physical appearance is. So if I see him, I know.
Right. No, that's smart. Absolutely.
I don't fear him. I'm not scared of him. He made it very clear that the only reason he ever started beating me when I was pregnant was because he was afraid to hit me when I wasn't. Because he knew I would have fought back. Then he knew what. So that was the big,
Hopefully he'll get what's coming to him. Someone eventually is going to take it out on him, or hopefully he'll go away. I don't know. It makes me so angry, these people who just keep getting away with this.
Right. It was in the news. It was on Facebook. I saw it again the other day. A young, late, gorgeous woman kept going to the command saying, my husband hurting me. He's beating me. And she was all bruised up, and they turned a blind eye again. And next thing you know, they said they found tapes of her calling the suicide hotline, and it's recorded. And she was like, my husband's going to kill me, and nobody's helping me. I'm in a town, I don't know anybody, whatever, he's military, whatever. And then she was found stabbed to death only a few days later. And nothing happened to him.
Makes me so angry because it's supposed to be protecting the country, and you're supposed to be, saving us from the bad guys. Well, what happens when part of you are the bad guys? You need to take responsibility.
I actually said that to them. I said, you're United States soldiers and you're supposed to be protecting United States citizens, and we're on U.S. soil. What do you do overseas? I don't understand.
Right.
And I was like disregarded like trash, like it's nothing.
Shame on them. You went after them with a lawsuit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Good for you.
I did.
Sometimes stuff like that is what's going to make them open their eyes. You got to hit them where it hurts them.
Right. And I mean, it wasn't about the monetary because there was a cap on it. And so, believe me, there was no kind of monetary reward. And it really was the reason I did it. I wanted them to be held accountable to see that not everybody's going to walk away. And, a lot of people can't fight that fight. And I did because I wanted my daughter to see that she fought so hard for me. I'm going to continue fighting so hard for her. And there had to be accountability. There had to be people brought to the fire for this. And I was told, people could be brought out of retirement. I don't care. I could care less. So my ex ended up getting medical retirement with benefits for the rest of his life. But I went after him, sued civilly. And we won.
Good for you. They need to be held accountable. You can't let this continue. Like, people are dying and they don't need to be. It's ridiculous.
Right. Absolutely.
What a story. And your stat that you said 1 in 3 families in the military are abused.
It is. And if it's 1 in 3 that report it, how many are not reporting it? Yeah, same as law enforcement. And they turn a blind eye and they take care of each other. Like I said, they're not all bad. My husband now is, that the whole background in military and canine training, and canine handler. He would never, ever. That's not anything I've ever had to. My husband and I have known each other for 20 years. We've never had a single fight. Never. Which is amazing.
Absolutely. And the fact that he stepped up to help with everything that happened with your daughter, and you're like, see, if you would have married me before, none of this would happen.
He's still stricken about it. He blames everything that happened. He said, had I not been stupid and we broke up, this would never have happened.
He can't do that, though, because
I told him that he can't do that. But like when we first got back together, my daughter went up to him. I mean, we'd always talk off and on through the years. And my daughter told him, she was like, my mom has said from day one that the only person she would ever be my dad that would be good enough as you. And I was like, thanks for that. Thanks for that. And next thing you know, when he proposed, he asked her permission.
Oh, I love that.
He asked her if he could change her name since I was going to have mine changed.
Yeah.
And he made a big deal about it, and he gave her a beautiful Tree of Life necklace and said, we're planting the roots as a family. And he slow danced with her away. It was beautiful. It was so, so beautiful. But into it, I was like, all right, I mean, but, he had her as his best man, and I had her as a matron of honor at the same time. So it was really sweet. And they, once a week, they have a daddy-daughter night where they sit and watch stupid movies. When I say stupid movies, I mean stupid movies where you're like, I'll never get that time in my life back. So I said, it's y'all's time. I'm going to work and do anything I can other than this. And they do it all the time. They're jokers. They play pranks on each other all the time, constantly. It's so much fun. I mean, it's really a lot of fun.
It's like he was meant to be all along.
I've told him that many, many times.
You keep fighting, and I want to thank you so much for being on the show. You really do have such an amazing light, and you are an amazing person. I can just tell that. And I can't wait to talk to you next.
I know. We're going to have you on.
Yes.
Yes, we're going to have you on. We're going to schedule and get you on.
That'll be the first time I'm a guest, so.
I feel honored. I feel so honored.
Yeah, no, honestly, I'm excited.
It'll be good. It'll be good.
All right. Well, thank you so much again. I really appreciate it. And we will keep in touch for sure. And I'm going to make sure everybody knows about contagiousmile.com. Get the word out, because stuff like that, we really need it. We do.
We just want to help others. That's all we want to do.
Absolutely.
We want people to go through this by themselves. And we need to make it stop. One voice can make a movement. We need to stop. We need to get this under control.
We need to change the laws, is what we need.
The laws are horrible. Only 2% of people who actually abuse individuals serve any kind of jail for it.
It's pathetic. It's disgusting. And if they do, they get out early release, and then they do it again. It's the cycle.
Here's the sad statistic, Tiffany. 2% get incarcerated for it, because it's like, I think the statistic that I just saw was like 85% do not get a full investigation done, which is completely understandable and believable the way our laws are right now. 46% of the victims end up in self-defense, killing their abuser, and they serve time. That is mind-blowing to me.
Yeah.
That is ridiculous.
We need reform. Absolutely. If we all stand together and we all fight, hopefully, maybe. I mean, I'm willing to fight. I really am.
Let's do it.
All right.
So much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, not a problem. You have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, sweetheart.
Thank you.
Abuse is never okay. Please let somebody know if you need help or call the abuse hotline at 1-800-799-7233, or you can text LOVE IS, which is LOVEIS, no spaces, to 22522. All right, you guys, we'll talk crime another time. Bye.